Hi everyone, today's objective is greatest common factor and factoring by grouping and word problems. So to start off with number one, write example number one, write the plan section of 90. Please do that right now for example number one. Example number two, that's when we start grouping. Example number two, when you have four terms and when you need to factor, there's another method that we use, it's called grouping. And step number one is just by putting parentheses on the first two terms and the second two, and then third and fourth term. Because it's a plus sign, which is very important, eventually you will see what's the difference between a plus sign and minus sign. Because it's a plus sign, we are just going to put the parentheses first two terms, second two terms. And then we're going to factor out things they have in common for the first two terms. So if you put out r, that's going to leave you with r minus 3t. And for the second one, if you pull out a 3w, because that's what they have in common, they will have r minus 3t again. Now, the very important thing is making sure this, the expression inside the parentheses is exactly the same. And then you can factor it out again, and the answer will be r minus 3t and times r plus 3w. So that's why it's very important if you have the sign correctly written. So please try example number 3 yourself. Now, I'm hoping most of you guys can get to the part that we are at. But we also know from before that is not 100% totally factor, because if you notice 5a plus 5b, there's a 5 in common. So to make sure this is done correctly, you should put out 5. So that should be 2x minus y times 5 times a plus b. Now, you can write it better, which is 5 times 2x minus y times a plus b. So that will be one way you can do it. Or if you take a look at the very beginning, they all have 5 in common. So you can pull out a 5 and then factor it. Okay, so in this case, the step I want you guys to remember is the first step, you put it in parentheses. Second step, you pull GCF. The third step is going to be rewriting it. And then the next one is to pull out things they have in common. 4 is also the same thing, but this is something that you want to pull out things they have in common. So let me show you. First of all, I will say, all right, everybody have a 3. So I pulled out 3, and that will be 2bxy plus xyz and plus 2bxc and plus x. Then you can also pull out an x if everybody notice. If you pull out x, you will have 2by plus yz plus 2bz plus x divided by x is 1. So that's why I want to explain. Then you can proceed it to try to see can you factor. So grouping it, put the parentheses in the first two, put the parentheses into the second two. Let's see what we can pull out. They both have a y, so I'm pulling out the y. 2b plus c. And next one is going to be nothing. So because it's nothing they have in common, I'm going to put down a 1 as a placeholder. They both have a 1, so we can pull out the 1. And then that's going to be 2bz plus 1. And so when you rewrite it, you have something from the before. So that's 3x comes down. So the 3x is going to be 3x times 2b plus z, what they have in common, plus whatever's left over, and that is going to be y plus 1. And that will be your answer for number 4. So you guys go ahead. We are going to do example number 5. Example number 5 is a little different, is because the middle term right here is a minus sign, which is I told you guys before. And because it's minus sign, what we are going to do is going to be teeny tiny bit different. I want to erase that and do a different color. And the rows are same thing. You put parentheses the first two. Because that third term's sign is negative, you gotta make sure you put the parentheses around it. But it's like putting out negative, you got to change your sign. So if it's a positive become negative, that will change the sign. Notice pulling out negative 6p become a positive 6p. A positive 3pq become a negative 3pq. And because of that, I can pull out 2 is what they have in common on the first one, 2 minus q, and minus the second one. That's why it's so important, make sure the sign is there. And you can say, all right, I will need to pull out a 3p, and that's going to be 2 minus q. Notice they will eventually be the same exact number and sign in the parentheses. So that's going to be 2 minus q times 2 minus 3p. Okay, next one. Please try example number 6. Here is example number 6. Again, because the third term is a negative sign, you have to change the fourth term's sign. So it become from negative become positive right here. Now make sure you remember changing that. So now what you're going to do is pull out c plus d and then rewrite it. Example number 7. I would like to have you guys try it. That's the answer for example number 7. Please try example number 8. This is the answer for example number 8. Again, this is when you have nothing else in common in the second term, so you can still pull out a 1, and that's what I did. Now, also another thing is I want to say, I would like you guys to recognize x, y minus a can be written as second. They are the same thing. X minus 1 and x, y minus a, they are the same. So either one will be okay for me as an answer. Example number 9, but the hint is there's things they have in common, and make sure you change your sign. Here's the answers for example number 9. It's 4 times w minus 2x, parentheses times 3y plus z. On to example number 10. Example number 10 is a word problem. We're going to go through it. For example number 10, it's a word problem, but it's not hard. I hope you guys give a chance. Let's read through it. Example 10, the area of a rectangular pool is 1260 feet square. Find the dimension of the rectangle if one side of the pool is 48 feet more than 3 times the other side. So before I do the problem, I will definitely draw myself a picture. So the picture is going to be, here's my rectangular pool. All right. Now it also says one side of the pool is 48 feet more than 3 times the other side. So in this case, if I'm going to call this is the W, and this is going to be, the length is going to be 3W plus 48, because if you read backwards, it's 48 more than 3 times the other side. So you're going to do this as W, and then this is 3 times the W, and then 48, that means 48 plus 3W. All right, so write the equation for the area of the rectangle. Well, the area of the rectangle is just W times 3W plus 48 equals 1260. And that's A. B is write an equation for the length in terms of the width. So the W is the width, and the length is in turn, that means using the letter. So that's just 3W plus 48. Okay, now what they want you to do is a factor to determine the length and the width. To do that is going to be the length times the width plus 48, and that will give you the area of 1260. And then so now we need to solve it. And to solve this, we need to get everything onto one side and make sure you distribute. So that's 3W squared plus 48W minus 1260, and then you're going to factor it. Now, to factor this, I would definitely look at, do they have anything in common? And in this case, they do. So that will be 3 times. Okay, as we set it up and then we start solving it, those are the number combination. Now, there's probably a little bit more, but I kind of stopped because I remember I only need 16, and since I got 14 and 30, I can definitely get to my 16, so I just stopped. Then I put it in the baby equations, which is the zero product property, and I solved it. Now here's why I want to explain. When we're talking about length and width of a pool, we are not going to have a negative number. And because we are not going to have the negative number in this case, the negative 30 actually is not a correct answer. So the correct answer for the width of the pool, which is W, I need to go back and change that. That's W. Is going to be the width of the pool is at 14. And so make sure you understand the question. Let's answer the question. So the width, in this case, of the pool is equal to 14 feet. And then the length of it is going to be 3W plus 48. And if you plug in the number, that's going to be 3 times 14 plus 48, and that's going to be 90. And therefore, the width is 14 feet, the length is 90 feet. And that concludes today's notes. Thank you so much for watching.